There's people that spend real money on golf carts, like insane.
There are.
Yeah. There's a guy who's making vintage looking, but fully decked out golf carts that you gotta start, entry level's like 60K.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, that is stupid.
You know,
I
was just gonna jump on your bandwagon there too. I think that's
around
stupid.
town.
I don't know that we have one here that's of the same style that he's doing, but there are people that spend crazy money on golf carts. This guy's gonna make a full business out of it, customizing.
But,
Trust fund, baby. You gotta spend your money somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome. Any additions to the agenda this evening?
Mayor, one change under 3.11 on consent agenda. I have 2 ambulance hires I'd like to make tonight.
2 hires? Okay.
Correct.
So adding to the consent agenda, 3.11, 2 EMT hires. Okay, I'll look for a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And motion carries. On to visitors to be heard. None this evening. And to 3, the consent agenda. Nate, anything you'd like to draw attention to this evening?
Yeah, starting at 3.6 in your agendas, business associate agreement with Ride Central. This is for the ambulance service. It's a statewide grant that we're using for transfers. We have a paramedic resignation on there. Read that memo if you have a chance. Brenda Sinning, after a very long career here, is hanging up the, I don't know, the stethoscope or what, paramedic is going to hang it up, but she's hanging it up. And so I believe it'll be a bit of a celebration for her on the 23rd at the 50th anniversary as well. So,
All deserved.
yep.
Yeah.
No doubt. She's been a mainstay.
Yeah.
And quite a team player, team member, really an extra mile person.
All along. I mean, just,
Yeah.
and it honestly doesn't matter whether it's at a church or at the ambulance or commercial club, she's been a help for everybody. We've got the audit engagement letter in there for this year. That audit's coming up here in September, so we gotta get that wrapped. And then we have 2 transfers here, ambulance transfer and a swimming pool transfer. The ambulance transfer is kind of sizable. And that's a holdover from 2023. So that's bringing that ambulance fund to the 0 balance that it needs to be at the end of the fiscal year. And then same thing on the pool side, we missed the transfer amount by $4 when we did that resolution back in March, April, somewhere in there. Then the last one on here is Park Drive after 5, that special event permit application. No real changes from the last one. They're going to have trucks at this next one. This is next week, Friday, I believe, the 22nd. Get my memo pulled up here a moment. So on this one, I'm asking for approval for the special event permit, but I also propose a $1,000 expenditure to sponsor those events. They've been very popular. They're not bringing in any revenue on those. I think given the community impact, probably worthwhile for us to be a sponsor for those.
$1,000 total for the remaining 2? Or
Yeah, 500 each.
Yeah. I think that's a really good call out, and that was a very well attended, fun, good spirited event.
Was.
All ages. Yeah.
On the ambulance hires, we have Aaron Van Dusen as a paramedic at $20.78 an hour. Nathan Gill as an AEMT at our standard rate. Volunteer AEMT.
Discussion, comments, questions from council?
Just for my benefit on the audit, is that the normal price, that the same people we use all the time, is that what we pay them?
We've used Shane Fish for the last 4 audits, I believe. Does that sound right? 4 or 5. So this, I think, will be their 5th audit of our finances. The amount, bear with me here, I think is going to be less than last year, if I remember right, because we're not, do we have to do the federal audit?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's going to be similar.
I think you just set a not to exceed amount on there.
20K.
Yeah, 20K.
20, yeah, that was less than our estimate for last year, so it's still a pretty darn good deal. Yeah, 20,000 not to exceed, including expenses, so, you know, we got notice probably 2 years ago that amount was gonna go up, just because of the ARPA funds and our requirements for federal audit, because we're getting over $750,000 a year in federal dollars. But we've been happy with them. It's not that we always agree with our auditors, it's not that they always agree with us, but it's a good back and forth and a healthy discussion. So we're very happy with them. Produce a quality report for us.
Any other questions, comments from council? Now, I'll look for a
Motion to
motion.
approve the consent agenda.
Second?
All right, motion and a second. The roll call this evening. Doherty.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Swear.
Aye.
Vandrow.
Aye.
Teasy.
Aye.
And motion does carry. On to 4, old business. We have mobile home park license.
Mayor and Council, you'll remember in June, we approved a temporary extension of the mobile home park license for Lennox Mobile Home Park by Standing Stones, Inc. Following your extension, Kyle and I have met with the owners of the park and continue to monitor the work and communicate with them. Significant progress has been made. Additional work remains, but we're confident that the owners will see it through to the finish, and we're supportive of issuing a full license at this time. So we recommend a motion to approve a mobile home park license for Lennox Mobile Home Park under Standing Stones, Inc.
Could you go into more detail as to what improvements have been made in this short amount of time?
Yeah, the main improvements are going to be that skirting on, I can't remember the number of the trailer, but the one on the west side of the park. That's the primary improvement. When we met with them immediately after our issuance of the temporary license, they had recognized too that there was some general upkeep to the property that had been lacking in the last few months. So they own that, acknowledged it, and have made significant improvements there. So we do still want to talk with the owners about the roof on one of those, but they tell us it's not leaking, and at this point we'll take their word for it. But if there does end up being an issue in there, then there's going to be some serious remediation for something like that. So.
Yeah.
So what's left then? Do we feel is left?
There's a little bit of work on, I think it's number 18. So right when you pull in off of 7th, it's off to your left, two or three in. There's some siding work that needs to be patched up yet. The owner of that one is moving out, I think, this week yet. So I assume that Ron and Joey are going to take ownership of that and figure the work out. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that they're making progress.
Yeah. You know, this is never issuing the license is never a measure of perfection for us, just like any code enforcement thing. Any property has a code enforcement violation on it. We're looking for progress, we're looking for significant or, substantial compliance with the ordinances.
Good, I'll look for a motion to approve mobile home park license.
So moved.
Okay, we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion does carry. On to 5, new business, we have resolution 2025-81101, street maintenance.
Mayor and Council, we established this special street maintenance fee every year here for the last I want to say 5 years now, like starting in 2020. The fee is collected on all residential and commercial properties in Lennox. The revenue from the fee is deposited in Fund 220, which is a special maintenance fee fund, or special maintenance fund, which is used exclusively for street maintenance projects. Up to this point, that's been slurry seal projects, some gravel maintenance, and a few other minor maintenance projects. In the future, we'll also include mill and overlay projects and other larger maintenance projects. So if we need to replace just a block of a street, for example, that's probably what we would do. For 2025, we increased that fee to $2 a linear foot, and forecasted 50-cent increase for 2026 as the final step in a gradual increase in the fee from $1 to $2.50. That was recommended by the city engineer and city administrator back in, I believe it was 2020 or 2021. This resolution is in keeping with that forecast, though I would note that the 250 estimate is several years old, and if we were to do that analysis back over today, it would probably be much higher. In terms of revenue expense for that fund, we've got a chart there for the last 4 years, last 3 years of actuals, and this year's assumed under the budget and slurry seal project plan. I think it's important to remember that we forecast the gradual increase over several years in order to eventually set the fee at a level that would permit us to complete eventual mill and overlay projects on streets. Many of the streets in town are not eligible for a mill and overlay because they were constructed so poorly, but other streets might be in the future, but are in good enough condition at this time that we just continue with regular maintenance, such as a seal project. Projects themselves are fairly simple, but they are somewhat expensive as well, just less expensive than a reconstruction. Asked City Engineer Mitch Mergen for an estimate this morning on a smaller project here, going from 6th Avenue to Highway 44 on South Main. Mitch's rough estimate for that cost would be about $240,000 in today's dollars. That's based off of the mill and overlay on, I think it's Willow Street in Harrisburg. That's happening right now. This week, I think it's kicking off. So current fund balance is $392,000 and change. It does not include any pay applications for the slurry seals. Pull another $115,000 off of that, and that's where we're sitting right now. And you want to make sure that you've got enough in there for reserves as well. So we don't have enough money today, and that's just for one of those projects. If we can go back and reanalyze what this looks like in today's dollars and what we looked at 4 or 5 years ago when we initially recommended the 250. That would get you a number for sure on what you're looking at in the future for costs, but it's also going to get you a much higher recommended front footage fee, just because prices have changed that much in that time frame. So I recommend a motion to approve.
Discussion.
So like looking at this year, when we got it up to $2, it looks like we have about $150K surplus. Now, we didn't do any big projects this year, so that's only the minimum kind of slurry seal. Do we expect that level to kind of maintain the slurry seal cost? Do we see that rising? Or is that a normal year outside of any mill and overlays?
125 would be about normal.
125?
Yeah. We'll have next year with the second and third phase of Countryside, we'll probably have to add those in.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be larger than it was 7 years ago, obviously, for that same stretch. We'll have those plus inflation.
So we're netting at least 100,000 surplus on years we don't do a mill and overlay.
Yep.
I guess, do we have any kind of schedule
I'd say we're at least 10 years out yet.
10 years out? And
That's without doing a full analysis of which ones, where we'd start, so on and so forth.
So 10 years out, we could potentially be sitting on 1 to 1.2 million in reserve ready to do those projects.
Yep. I use South Main as an example, just because it's one of the streets that's in good enough,
Yep.
that was built well enough that we could do a mill and overlay. I'd also look, the first ones we'd probably be looking at are Cherry, I think from 1st to 4th, if I remember right, no, that can't be right. Probably north of 2nd, north of 3rd, somewhere in there. That's a newer stretch that was done within the last 15, 20 years. Central Basin 1, which would be Academy, some with Garfield, some with Fourth, Seventh. Probably a couple others in there. But really, you're looking at streets that were constructed in the last 15 years.
So
They're gonna be our
would the
first
plan be
prospects.
not just to do the high traffic streets, but eventually we would mill and overlay every new street that's been put in? Or what is our
Every asphalt,
our
one,
re-
yes.
reasonable,
In terms of what to expect for schedule.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, all streets are gonna be constructed the way they need to be. And we'll be able to mill and overlay all of them on a 20 to 30 year schedule.
Can you remind me, how often is it the year after the street's installed that we do slurry?
1 to 2,
And then what's the next time that we slurry after that? Is it
7 years.
7 years after that initial seal?
It's possible you can see some wear and tear on, you know, a heavily trafficked street sooner than that. That would necessitate a faster seal, but.
Other discussion?
With the projects that we're talking about, like getting gravel roads taken care of and those expenses, is there room in our sewer fund to help assist with how we finance that as opposed to finding this through the maintenance fees?
In terms of, like total construction?
Yeah.
Yes.
Are we going down to infrastructure on those?
I think you probably have to do some sewer and water.
Right.
Those are primarily going to be drainage projects. Now, we could treat it just like any other, you know, we talked about the Lewis and Clark project, expansion being a interfund loan.
Right?
You could do something like that and fund, you know, the drainage fund out of the sewer fund on an interfund loan. That's a possibility. I mean, there's, as we'll talk about on our agenda tonight, there's a number of possibilities for those funds that we have yet to determine. That is one of them. You could use it for capital improvement.
Right, I read that in the, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but it's relevant to this
I think
conversation.
it is as well, yeah.
And you made a comment in the next topic that, you know, not many cities enjoy what we enjoy right now,
This is true.
which allows us some flexibility when we look at how our taxpayers cover the expense.
Right. Right. It's a, and maybe we're getting too deep into the next topic, but it's a unique situation to be in. And it's not that we're just flush with cash. We have uses for it that we otherwise would not be able to fund. The question is that the best? Which options are best?
Right.
Those are the questions we need to answer. So, in terms of maintenance, I wouldn't necessarily use that for just regular ongoing maintenance. We've used it for capital equipment at the wastewater plant. We've used it for the rebates and for the design of long-term improvements. So.
With things kind of sitting in a holding pattern on where the prison's actually going to end up, now it's going to be up to the South Dakota legislature to determine a path forward. And that will have a direct impact on our sewer fund, whether it's to move forward with the planned improvements soon to accommodate a prison site that's within 10 miles of our municipality, or whether it's we have this money to, in the next agenda item, dream about.
Yep.
I wonder if it would be a good idea to table this for the time being, so we can kind of get a better feel for where that's going to be. I know that's not where we still need to generate revenue to maintain our streets. I get that. But there's a lot in play right now. And if we can find a way to properly utilize that funding to keep our taxpayer burden down, I think we're winning.
I don't see any harm in tabling this for further discussion and study. I do want to make sure that we get it passed by the time we need to have it to the county for collection for next year's taxes.
Which puts us,
I think that's October,
October
which is right after the legislature is supposed to.
right,
Legislature's meeting on the
23rd.
23rd.
yep.
One thing I think we should have a better handle on as we get further into this is better putting together the plan where this money is gonna be spent. Like, you're throwing out some hypotheticals, like, and I know we can't plan 20 years out with, you know, down to the penny or anything like that, but kind of getting a schedule of when and where we think we might need this money. And
Where our first project's gonna
and
be.
help us
Yeah.
sell that, hey, we need to build this up, so when we get 10 years from now, we're not adding a big surcharge or putting a big bond together or
Yeah.
something that's gonna greatly impact the community.
That is typically what we would do. The problem is it's so far out, it's hard to say
Yep.
if that schedule's actually gonna be accurate or not.
I understand that.
But
Yeah,
if we base it off of, you know, date of construction,
Yeah.
we could probably go with something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cause, you know, 411, for example, 4 years ago, not on the radar.
Right.
This year,
Yeah. I just think people right now are thinking like, why are we raising this? We have a $150,000 excess, you know, we don't have the money, you know, I'm having trouble paying my rent this month, like, I can't afford another $100 a year, whatever this is gonna be, $50 a year.
Yep.
I think having that foresight and at least laying out, hey, we're thinking ahead 10 years and we're gonna have these $5 million projects stacked up on each other that, you know, is gonna prevent us from having 20 million in projects by doing this preventative maintenance and telling that story, I think would behoove us.
Right, it's a fine line to walk, because one of the major points that was made in our community outreach efforts with Dakota Visioning was improve the streets of Lennox. You know, make this city proud of driving through it instead of holding your coffee and trying not to spill. And there's been great strides made on that front. We just want to make sure that we're now doing our due diligence for our citizens to keep that where it needs to be without overburdening those that are stretched.
Yep. I'll work with Mitch, see if we can't get something put together by the 9/8 meeting. That works, and have a report back, and which still gives us time if there's some work that needs to be done.
Does it have to go through, it's a resolution, so does it have to go through first and second reading before you can send it to county,
One
or
reading.
just?
Can you check on that date, just make sure it's November 1st? For the resolution, when it has to be with the county. I think it's October 1st.
It's October first.
Okay. Okay.
And then our next meeting in September would be on the 22nd, the day before. So
So we can't make a decision.
we've made, we'll read the tea leaves and see what we've
Well,
learned.
and
The TVs have not served us well on this discussion.
Right.
worst case is if we're not sure, we keep it at $2 and we lose out on 70 grand of.
Right.
Right.
So it's not like.
It's
we
not
can
gonna
never-
be a-
We can never raise it
Correct.
in future years, it's.
Right. Just good to information.
Let's see what the data shows and go from
Yeah,
there.
that's-
I'm also curious, with our countryside edition and the linear feet that we've added to the city, what does that look like as it continues to grow and build out in the next phase?
I want to say that we have to add phase 2 this year. I don't think it was done yet last year.
Okay.
They paved it last fall. That helps.
It does,
But it also adds cost.
Right,
20,
because we
30
gotta
years down
maintain
the
it.
road.
Right,
Yeah.
I was trying to interpolate your math of like, I know we raised it 50 cents a year, but it was going up more of a percentage, but we're adding more
We are adding more
frontage as well,
Yeah.
so that you can definitely see that in your data.
And if we were to, you know, at some point, the county's gonna ask us to take over Cleveland. We know this.
right.
That's a whole, you know, at least 3/4 of a mile stretch right there.
Yeah.
Where if both sides are, then that would be substantial. So. Okay.
Okay, so we'll table this till September 9th, is that what we?
I'll make a motion to table this.
Okay,
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second to table this until September 9th
Eighth.
meeting, September 8th meeting, sorry. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed, same sign. And motion carries. And then we have new business 5.2 sewer fund DOC proceeds.
Mayor and Council, since Billy's not here tonight, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, as folks were coming, I think, you know, I'm not asking for any action tonight anyway, we don't necessarily have to table it. But I think what I'd like to have is everybody in the same room for this discussion. So I think this is a good introduction, this memo is a good introduction to some of the issues, some of the possibilities. By no means exhaustive. There are endless possibilities for what could happen with this money. But I want to get folks in the frame of mind where they're thinking about what that looks like and what the most responsible thing to do with it would be, or a combination of things. We know that we can't take any real big action on this until after the 23rd of September. We just don't know. And honestly, until there's a shovel in the ground, I still don't know if I'd recommend taking much action. But I think it's time for us to start thinking about this. I think over the winter, the fall and winter months would be a good time for me to dig in on some of these and really give it a good long look at what it looks like if we do this. I've got a proposal from HDR to look at our reserve funds. I've got that on hold. We'll just hold. I don't think we have to do it right away. There's a few things that Tyson and I can do in the background to take a look at our reserve funds and what that might mean. So we're going to hold off on that. But I just want to get folks in the right frame of mind where they're thinking about what we want to happen, see happen here with these funds. Any discussion, guidance would be appreciated. But
At $15K a month in interest gains, we can take our time.
What's
I think it's
it?
actually more than
It's
that.
like
It's
30.
more than that.
It's like 36.
Which I-
Okay,
If I remember right, did we secure that? It was for 18 months or 24 months on that money market, so.
I thought it
we
was
got-
12 months.
Was it?
That's for the CD.
The CD was 12 months.
Okay,
Yeah. I think the money market was for 2 years.
okay.
And that's still looking pretty darn good.
Which I have one question on your interest income on the
Yeah.
spreadsheet. It looks like it's low. Like, when did we actually start getting that?
That's where I came up with my 15 grand, was using that extrapolated back to
This is
February.
that table that you sent me. So we've got the interest income of 102.
Because even if you take a balance of 9.8 million, which should have been more than that for part of the year, when did we start getting?
I probably, before that, I believe it was before my time, I don't know where they were, I think they were just quoting interest income as just
Okay,
in the general fund.
So
And
this
then once
is
I
all
made
in?
the transfer to Security Bank is when I started. So that's probably since April.
okay.
Is
That makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
more sense. So we have 3 months that maybe got put somewhere else.
Yeah, if you look at if I can direct everybody back to the finance report on the consent agenda, and look at cash report July 2025 as the document, you're gonna see a balance of like 10.2, 10.3 in that account. 10.325 is the current balance of that account. I got everything right there. Yeah.
That's better.
So even with what we spent on design for the facility upgrades, even with what we sent out in checks for the rebates and ongoing rebates, we're still at $10.3 million. That's
Right. Let's take our time.
pretty darn stealthy.
So one thing that I want to call out was, we have those negative surcharges currently in place. That's kind of leveraged with having, I think it was around 5 million
In debt.
in debt. So like, if we spend that money, that surcharge would have to go back on people's bills because we wouldn't have that reserve to pay for it.
Correct.
So we gotta keep that kind of stuff in mind.
Yep. So basically what we're doing right now, the idea when we did the surcharge reduction, the ongoing reduction, was that the interest income would fund that rebate.
Yep.
And that's about 190,000 a year, if I remember right.
Yep, this is, yeah. Right around
If you reduce that balance by half, then your interest income is obviously going to suffer.
Right.
And reduces what you can do with that, so. That's part of my, the gears are working back here. I'm thinking if we keep our reserve funds full, that also means we're taking in hopefully sufficient interest income to continue those rebates. It also means that you could, because our rate increase after the rate study last year was partially based on the need to fill up those reserves,
Yep.
we could get rid of that portion of that increase and thus further reduce rates. So that's the thinking that's kind of, there's a lot of stuff going on there.
What
right.
is the approximate timeline to be able to fulfill that rebate?
There's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah,
We
the
have,
closest
like-
one is Lewis and Clark 1, which would be another 4 years on that
4 or
debt
5
schedule.
years, I think was the.
You wanna grab the
soonest
yellow
one.
binder?
And was that one that it made no sense to pay off?
2% or something, yeah, 1.7.
Right, free money.
Yeah. I think everything we have is under 3.25.
Right, so we're earning more sitting with it and investing
Right,
instead of
right.
paying off.
Is there a time when that changes? Maybe, we'll
Right.
see.
Right,
Right.
but not.
Sure, it sure isn't moving very
If
quick.
CD
but-
rate goes down to 1%, then maybe we have another discussion.
Right.
When it's
Yeah.
at 4%.
And we're locked in for 2 years on our long-term play, and we have another, 6 months on our first 12-month.
And I think once that 12 months comes to an end.
When you
you
put it
start
out for
shopping
bid,
again.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So, that's that one important. Okay. $2035 on the water tower, so 10 years left on that. See that. Gonna have to look a little deeper, I'm not seeing it. Not seeing it here. Jason, can you help me out? We're looking for water review file 2017. There's more back here. There you go. 2029 is the end of Lewis and Clark. So November of 29 is our final payment there. Right now, that's at 2%, graduates, the coupon graduates to 3% for the last. We're at 3% now. Through the remainder. So remaining payments on that. 150, 160,000 bucks.
Do we anticipate future SRF loans in the next 5 years?
Yes.
I think one path would be to kind of play that same game with those, if and when they're needed, to try to prevent further surcharge from being added.
Yeah. And I think you'll see surcharges reduce next year as well anyway, because
With the reserve, yeah.
well, just because we've been collecting the surcharges on Central Basin 4 for 2 years now. And I think our analysis is gonna show us ahead on those payments,
Okay.
which should stabilize everything. Because again, you put those surcharges in place figuring the entire amount of the project.
Yep.
You won't use all that money that was funded.
Yep.
Um,
Plus our user rates have, or our number of users have gone up.
Correct. So use has gone up, I think you're going to see that one come down a little bit. But I don't think we've started that analysis yet, if I remember right, so.
I know some of us visited the wastewater treatment plant recently, and, I think the path we're going down, when we thought the prison was for sure coming here with the drying bed and the holding tank, I think we see that it is needed at some point, but it's probably not the most pressing thing that our citizens probably would benefit from. So from my point of view, if we're gonna spend money on the wastewater treatment system, we should maybe focus on areas that are weak points that could affect houses in our town. Because what we're talking about there doesn't necessarily improve or reduce the possibility of flooding basements. It's just gonna buy us time if we have an event up when we start dumping directly into the river.
Correct.
So I think improving areas like the lift stations, or if there's other drainage things that would benefit us, that may be somewhere we wanna look at focusing
Yeah,
some of
we
those
could,
dollars.
you could use, even if it's not a massive capital program, you could use, and we do spot repairs on the sewer every year to fix the worst spots in town that aren't maybe eligible for a total reconstruction, but this 50-foot section needs to go. That would be I think, a pretty easy and reasonable use of those funds without majorly depleting them.
Yeah.
We have seen major improvement in our I&I. I'm absolutely convinced that these, Central Basin 4 projects, the Boynton project, made significant improvements to our I&I problem.
It's incredible watching
And you
your charts.
can see that now, watching what those charts do on a heavy rain day. A day 5 years ago, where we would have gotten 300,000 gallons in, is now closer to 200,000 gallons in. That's shockingly good. It's not that we won't still get heavy flows there, but I think we've made a lot of improvements. And if we can keep making improvements at that, that's what reduces that risk for our property owners. Along with some, we can make some improvements on our lift stations to move stuff a little bit faster as well.
Do we get bottleneck with our storm sewer? Obviously the event.
14 inches we do.
The event we had last year, obviously we do,
Yeah.
but is there any weak links there we need to look at?
Yeah, we need to look at West Fourth. That's why, that whole section of town, Third and Blaine is probably our biggest trouble point at this point. It's a small storm drain. I think it's got like a 4-inch drop inlet on it or something like that. It's just not sufficient to drain the entire neighborhood. So I would focus on that west side of town, particularly south of 2nd Avenue for storm sewer. We do have some outlets over there. I think we have an outfall established, if I remember right. But we'd probably have to bring it further down south once we had 4th Avenue. The northeast, where we've got some gravel that we'd like to replace, you could do some stuff there, but there's a lot you can do with grading and the existing storm sewers we have on Boynton. So I think we've got good trunks we can throw stuff into at this point. It's just getting stuff connected. If you look at GIS, there is a layer on there that has the condition of our streets, but also of our storm sewer. So it has our trouble points on it, or our sanitary sewer, excuse me. So if you go under utilities and hit sewer, go under maintenance and sanitary sewer deficiency lines and deficiency points. And then the legend will be on the top right corner. You can kind of see what we're looking at there for what we're looking at. Pull slurry seal off here a second. We'll put that on there. So just select deficiency lines and deficiency points, and I'll show you highest priority red, second highest priority blue, last priority green. GIS.
Yeah, it's asking me for a login, I've never gotten that before.
Anybody else?
That's
Same.
about it too now.
I'll email that over to everybody quick.
Is it,
Like, I don't
We have to
remember
create a
having a
user
login.
I was
No.
gonna say, I.
Nope, it's all publicly available for free, so.
Otherwise-
do we utilize our email or?
So every once in a while, our GIS will update their user parameters and the base layer will change, and then we'll have to go to a new link.
I
Guessing
thought
that happened
you
a
were
couple
in it,
weeks
that's
ago.
why I leaned over and said that.
Right?
Cause I tried my bookmark and it didn't work, and I
Yeah.
thought, I'll just go out to the website and click that
Yeah,
link,
let
that
that
didn't
go
work
over.
either. God, it's not just me.
Okay. just email it over to
We
everybody.
just needed one person to speak up.
TV too.
Do I trust this link?
I did.
There's a good one that came through a couple weeks ago from administrator. I don't know if you guys got that. I think that was the test one.
I might have reported that as fish.
I think you did.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't open it, right?
Hell no.
Whatever that thing, that proof point or whatever, must have caught it, cause I didn't get it.
Not everybody gets it at the same time. That's too obvious.
Because we're all talking when we're opening email.
Did you get that email?
So we do at work.
Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah, right.
I've got it on the TV as well.
You're on the layers of utilities and drainage?
Go to maintenance,
Okay.
and then just select sanitary sewer. There's two of them, 2 layers. I would note that the stuff that was, the streets that were on Central Basin 4 are not reflected on here yet. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
It's grayed out.
6 of them. The next one we're talking about is East Third, so that one may be done this year, or next year with Oriole, we may plug it in there. But after that, you look at West First, you got that Third and Blaine area. All along Cleveland, is a drainage issue if it rains heavy enough. We don't have, it's all open there. And then East Fourth, we're gonna have to tackle here soon as well. North Main is where we had a collapse this year when we were jetting it, which isn't supposed to happen. Thankfully it was north of the last, or it was upstream of the last service, so it's okay, but, if a house goes in on that corner, we're gonna have to do something. And then North Juniper is the other one on the north side. We would include North Juniper in any gravel replacement projects. That's really the last section up there that needs to be done on the west side of the road, so, west side of Main Street, excuse me. So, big discussion topic. This isn't something that we're looking for the next year. This is something that determines a lot for us, 10, 15, 20, even 30 years down the road. It's a great position to be in, to have the funds to do something, but it makes your decisions very impactful. And so we want to do it with a lot of deliberation, a lot of research. It's going to take time, but let's get the discussion started so we can get that ball rolling.
Can you expand a little bit on your interfund loans transfer financing, just to make sure I understand that a little bit better? Are you essentially saying instead of borrowing money elsewhere, we're
Yeah.
essentially borrowing from ourselves?
Borrow from yourself, yes. So that's what we do with Lewis and Clark, for example, if we go down that route. That is something we're gonna have to decide fairly soon. Like that decision has to happen fairly quickly. But you could look at funding park improvements that are recommended with a future park plan. You could look at capital improvement plan. You could loan it from one fund to another. In this case, I would recommend paying it back. You still got a surcharge, but you could do it at a low or no interest rate, because it's your money.
But you're losing your
You're
interest.
losing the interest it gains, correct. So you're gonna want, if you're losing that, you're going, I mean, at that point, it's kind of a Peter pay Paul thing.
Kinda, yeah. Although you can't really default on yourself, so I mean.
Correct. Paul's not gonna come looking for you. Tyson might.
I'm intrigued by the economic and community development idea. I think we need to be careful that we're not gonna be stuck with an asset that's hard to flip. or hard to move,
For sure.
And tie up that money in that manner, but if it's something similar to the Heine property where we were able to, we had line of sight for moving that within a couple months or whatever.
Days.
Days,
Right.
that makes a lot of sense for us, I think, that type of scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend treating it as a speculative purchase
No.
fund.
Oh, Lord, no.
I think there are economic conditions where that makes sense, and I don't think we're in those right now.
Can I recommend just buying Bitcoin? Sticking it
That's honestly probably a Tyson question. You want to research Bitcoin as an option? See what legislative law has to say about that.
Kill the blockchain.
Blockchain. Create a data center and kill two birds with one stone. We're gonna need a lot more water,
Buy some mining rigs.
right?
No, I think it's a lot of good options.
It's great to be looking at it now and thinking about it now and coming up with plans that we can actually deep dive.
It's possible too that we don't have a lot of sight on this until after our strategic planning session,
Right.
okay? Again, we're not making decisions yet. We could go to our strategic planning session and come out with our three priorities for us to focus on for the next 5-10 years. And that could really inform what this discussion looks like, right? Maybe our priorities over the next 5 years, for 5 years are gonna be infrastructure, and after that, it's gonna be quality of life projects. So that changes things quite a bit. So,
Yeah.
Right.
don't get too married to one idea at this point, I guess is what I'm
No.
trying to say.
I mean, from my point of view, you think about it almost like we won the lottery. You win the lottery, and what are you gonna do? You gonna go buy a Lamborghini, or are you gonna set yourself up for the next 30 years? I think we wanna set ourselves up for the next 30 years for our citizens and make sure we're making prudent decisions that's gonna protect their finances.
Yep.
First and foremost.
Yep.
I agree.
Okay,
On
thank you.
point.
Any other discussion with this? Otherwise, yeah, we will bring this up later, but there's no action item here for this agenda item. If not, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We're adjourned.
It got cold in here.
It did get comfortable in here, you're right.
No, it's freezing.